Hello, this is the BCSN Sports Wrap. Brian Fulford and AD Drew here with the 2020 HBCU Fantasy Women's Basketball Tournament. That's right. The guys have come together, and with our selection committee chairman, AD Drew over here, we have come up with the 32 best women's teams, HBCU women's teams. We put them in 4 regions, and right now we're going to go through the C. Vivian Stringer region of our tournament with the 8 teams going into this tournament. Of course, we've already mentioned the number 1 seed in this tournament, the Bethune-Cookman Wildcats, of course, coached by Vanessa Blair Lewis in her 12th season at Bethune-Cookman, 21 seasons overall. She's over 300 wins in her career. And Coach Blair Lewis will lead a Bethune-Cookman team that actually went to the tournament last year for the first time. And, you know, Bethune has won the conference tournament, the conference regular season a few times, but last year was the first time they actually went to the NCAA. So, unfortunately, Bethune, if all things would have played out, they lost in the first round of the tournament, in the MEAC tournament, so they would not have gone this year. But they get another opportunity here in our fantasy tournament, right, AD?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You know, second chances are always good in life, and we're going to give them one here.
All right, so let's go through the number 2 seed in this region, the Bowie State Bulldogs. Bowie State had an amazing record, 25-5 in the regular season. They were 12-3 in the CIAA, actually tied for second in the CIAA North, 6-2 division. I mean, it was very competitive this year in the CIAA. Coach Swan in the 5th year there, done a great job at Bowie State. What's significant? What can you tell us a little bit about Bowie State, AD?
Coach Sade Swan, like I say, in her 5th year, they won 13 in a row out of the gate. After a couple of hiccups there early in the middle of the schedule, they won 8 of their last 10 games. And their big victories were conference games against Virginia Union and against Lincoln, PA. And one thing to note about the CIAA schedule, they do, because there are so many teams in their conference, they do not have the opportunity to play as many non-conference games as our other teams do on the Division I level, and even the SIAC teams do. SIAC teams may get 6, 7, 8 non-conference games, and CIAA team primarily only get 3 or 4 non-conference games in because their schedule is so heavy within the conference.
Okay, moving to the number 3 seed, the Southern Jaguars out of the SWAC, and Southern with an overall record of 16-14. They were 13-5 and actually finished 3rd in the SWAC this year behind Texas Southern and Jackson State. Head coach Carlos Funches, in his 2 years at Southern, overall 37-26. He's got the Southern Jaguars rolling in the right direction. So they are the 3 seed, AD, in our tournament.
Yes, they kind of struggled down the stretch. They only split down the stretch, going 2-2 down the stretch. Their biggest win was against Texas Southern, but this team likes to play it close. They only average 61.8 points per game on offense while giving up 58.97, almost 59 points a game. So Texas Southern on the basketball court is going to keep it close, which is probably reflected in the record being just over 500.
The number 4 region, the Howard Bison of the MEAC. Howard was 16-15 overall, under 500 in the conference at 7-9. They were actually in the MEAC, so I know that'll kind of raise some eyebrows Coach Ty Grace in her fifth year at Howard. So how did Howard get into the tournament, AD, with a 16-15 record, and they were 7th in the MEAC?
Howard got in based on their non-conference schedule, their big non-conference wins. They were streaking the wrong way, and if this matchup was going to happen on the basketball court, I would probably bet for the team that Howard will be facing, because Howard had lost 6 of its last 8 games going into the MEAC tournament. But they did have some big wins out of conference going before the conference season started. They defeated Loyola of Maryland, Hofstra, East Carolina, and George Mason in non-conference play. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
They gave up more points that they scored, but it was minor. So that means the games they lost, they tended to get blew out. They scored 67.9. They gave up 68.1. So that's only a 0.2 difference. So they played games close when they won games, and it got blew out when they did lose.
And so, I'm sorry, I thought you were done again. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I was about to say that. But their Massey rating, which is the basis of what we put our numbers together, was still higher than some of the other teams in the conference. As a matter of fact, taking a look at the list, their Massey rating was higher than the 5th, the 6th, and who finished 4th in the MEAC. But the Massey rating was better than a lot of the teams that finished ahead of them within their own conference.
Okay, so you're saying that their Massey rating was better than a couple of teams that finished ahead of them in the MEAC, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Well, that matchup you spoke of, as a 4 seed, they're taking on the 5th seed, Johnson C. Smith Golden Bulls, who are the 5 seed, and they are 17-11 overall, 12-5 in the conference and the CIAA. They finished 2nd in the CIAA South. Coach Stephen Joyner Jr. In his 8th year at Johnson C. Smith. And this is a Johnson C. Smith that was trending in the opposite direction as Howard, correct?
Correct. They won 8 of the last 10 to end the season. Their biggest victory came against Bowie State. Once again, CIAA does not have the opportunity to play a lot of non-conference games. They were rated number 109 in Division II. That's out of 311 Division II teams on the Massey scale. So they were in the upper third versus a Howard team that was in the bottom third of the Division I scale. And their power rating in Massey was 94. They give up 57, almost 58 points a game, but they scored 63.5 points a game. So low scoring team, but they get it done on the defensive end, which once again, I know we're going to get into the matchups a little bit later, but if you get into this matchup, Johnson C is trending in the right direction. Howard is trending in the wrong direction.
Matchup is going to be the 3-6 matchup, because the 6th seed is the Alcorn State Braves, which sets up a Alcorn State versus Southern, a SWAC matchup in the opening round, a 6 versus 3. Alcorn with a 13-18 overall record. They were 9-9 though, finished 5th in the SWAC. And so 5th-year coach, unfortunately for Alcorn, coach at that time, Courtney Pruitt, his contract was not renewed. So Alcorn will actually be going into this tournament, so to speak, without a head coach, or with the assistant coach, with an interim coach, exactly. It's interesting. Alcorn lost 4 of their 6, AD, but their big win came against Southern.
Yes, they did beat Southern head-to-head One time this year they split with Southern. So, like I say, this is a very interesting matchup. Just going through some of the numbers. Alcorn scores 63.5 points a game. They give up 68.5 points per game.
All right, the number 7 seed in the region, the Savannah State Tigers. Savannah State playing in the SIAC. Savannah State, they were 15-8 in the regular season, 10-7 in the conference. They actually finished second in the SIAC East. Coach Cedric Baker, 17 years at Savannah State, and did a great job this year. And I'm sure Savannah State will go into full eligibility in the SIAC going forward.
Yeah, Savannah was tournament eligible this year. You know, football was the only sport that was not cleared in time to compete in postseason tournaments in the SIAC. I'm gonna have to contact them over at Savannah State to find out why they only played 23 games. I suspect it has something to do with them dropping down and not being able to find games on the appropriate level, because it does not benefit a Division I team to play a Division II team when it comes to selection time, and it really does not pay a Division II team to play anybody outside of their region. Or if you do go outside of your region, you need to go with another Division II team. There were probably a lot of schedules that were already full, so Savannah State was not able to get some of the games that they needed to get. One of their big victories came against the NAIA team in Allen, a 22-win Allen team. And another one of their big victories was against Tuskegee, who wound up in the SIAC championship game. Savannah State scored 74 points per game on offense, gave up 68 points per game on defense.
Speaking of Allen, Allen University comes in as the 8th seed in this region, 22-10 overall, 17-7 in the Appalachian Conference, finished 4th. And head coach Akia Stanton, in just her second year, has amassed 36 wins over those 2 years. So Allen heading in the right direction. And I believe, AD, was Allen actually one of the teams that made it into the NAIA tournament?
No. And looking at Allen's resume, it kind of perplexed me why they did not make it into the NAIA tournament, especially considering looking at some of the resumes of some of the other teams that did make it into the NAIA tournament. One of their, they had 2 6-game winning streaks throughout the season. I suspect because they lost 3 of the last 4, which may be why they did not make it into the NAIA tournament. Their biggest win came against a team that made it to the Division II NAIA tournament, and that came Voorhees, who made it to the Division II NAIA tournament. Allen scored 69 points per game on offense, gave up 63 points per game on defense.
All right, AD, real quick, as we take a look at this overall bracket, I think the 2 teams that stand out for me are the 2 CIAA teams, and Johnson bracket and Bowie State at the bottom half. I think those are the 2 teams who could very, very likely, you know, if these 2 teams were to play, who could very well be on a collision course for one another. You know, who knows? Obviously, Bethune-Cookman and the way their season ended, that could be a hiccup, but that's a very good Bethune-Cookman team. So for me, I would Bethune-Cookman versus Bowie State kind of matchup, where I think I would probably go Bowie State in this region. What are your thoughts?
Brian, I'm going to break this down 2 different ways. I'm going to break this down as if these teams were playing on the court. Then I'm going to tell you how I think the voting is going to go with these 2 teams. On the court, okay. On the court, Bethune, having come off of that loss in the BAC tournament, they would be refocused are getting back on the mission that they need to be, which would be progressive in the postseason. The Bowie State, Savannah State. Bowie State was such a dominant team in a good conference. I mean, they outscored their opponents by almost 10 points per game. That is a sign of a good defensive team. Not giving up 30, 40, 50 points per game. A sign of a good defensive team is your margin of victory. Are you holding teams and are you getting that big margin of victory? That is a good defensive team. And that's what Bowie State was. Southern, Alcorn, what can you say with these two teams play? Throw the records out the window. When Southern plays Alcorn, Johnson C. Smith, I mentioned it earlier, Johnson C. Smith was trending in the right direction. Howard was trending in the wrong direction to end the season. Now, how do I think the voting is going to go? First round, Bethune's alumni base will get Allen's alumni base. I believe Bowie State's alumni base is going to get out and vote for them over Savannah State. Southern and Alcorn, we know how many Southern alumni there are. We know how many current students there are at Southern. If a fraction of them get out and do what they're supposed to do, as they have done in our men's tournament, Southern wins this by a landslide. Howard, Johnson C. Smith, on the court, I would go with Johnson C. Smith. In fan voting, may have to lean towards Howard on the fan voting, Brian.
Yeah, that's a excuse me, that's a good point. I didn't factor in the fan voting. I was just looking at it from a basketball perspective. It'll be interesting to see do more. Will the Bowie State faithful show up for their women? They did not show up for the men. Will they show up for the women? But like you said, we know what Southern will bring to the X factor. So yeah, mate, you convinced me now that my dark horse in this region is Southern. So that's my thought there. All right.
I'm gonna say one other thing.
Real quick. Mm-hmm.
Savannah State. Don't be surprised if Savannah State does beat Bowie and does make a good run, because their
Bowie fans don't show up. Yeah.
Not only that, but their SID over at Savannah State is good at pushing out information. And once he gets a hold of this, I guarantee you Joshua Peacock is going to push this out to his fans over there. And the football coach, Coach Quinn, is going to jump on this and help out with this also over at Savannah State.
All right, so the challenge has been laid to the Bowie State Nation, the Bulldog Nation. Don't get outdone. You've got a good women's team. They deserve to have an opportunity to advance. And, of course, the beautiful thing it is, even though we set up the matchups, it's the fans that decide who will advance. So you have to make sure you go and vote mybcsn.net/vote-WBB, and that's how you make your voice heard. Voting available at least once a day during the first round. First round voting ends Wednesday at noon. When we come back, we'll talk about the Lonnie Bartley region, because the Stringer region plays the Bartley region in the Final Four. So we'll go through that region right after these words.